Dear students, this is the 12th session. In the 11th session, I told you about Daya Pawar, Dalit literature, and an introduction to the poem O Great Poet, which is written by Daya Pawar. So, in this session, let us see the progression of the poem and also the text, the poem O Great Poet. So the main objectives of the poem are like this. The student is able to know, it helps the students to know about Ramayana, Valmiki, Ramarajya, and also criticism of Dayapawar on Valmiki, and also the story of Herons, like this. So at the end of the session, here are some of the outcomes. That means at the end, students will be able to read the text. That means they will take interest to read the poem. They will also understand the poem in different layers. That means as a poem of Dalits, as a great poem of the Dayapawar. They will also try to know more and more about Valmiki and Ramayana, Ramarajya, like this. So here is the poem or the text of the poem. See, here this Dayapavar directly addresses Valmiki. He questions Valmiki. Was it necessary to write? Was it necessary writing of this Ramayana by Valmiki? Of course, it is a great epic. But what was the main cause for the writing the Ramayana? So, usually people will consider him, Indians will consider him as a great poet because he has written the great epic of India, that is the Ramayana. So he asks Valmiki, should he sing the praises of Ramayana because you are the he is the great poet of poets. Usually, Valmiki is considered as the great poets of all Indian poets because he has written such a great epic. But the main reason for writing this Ramayana was, of course, the story of Herons. You know, because of the story of Herons, because one of the Herons was shot by a hunter. Then this Valmiki saw that hunter, and he convinced that hunter not to kill birds or anything like that. Then Valmiki tells his own story. Then after that he began to write the Ramayana. So it is believed that it is told that the main reason for writing this Ramayana by Valmiki was the story of Herons. So he says, should you sing the praises of Ramayana because you are the great poet of poets, seeing the Heron's wounded wing, your compassionate heart broke out in lament. Because this Valmiki was also born outside the village, that is in Shenur neighborhood. He knew very well the misery of the people, but he did not he did not write much about the outside people or the Dalits or low class people in Ramayana. But he has given much importance for Ramarajya, like that. So, never festooned with fruit or flower the dejected faces. That means Dayapavar, what he is going to say that Valmiki did not give much importance for dejected faces. Dejected faces means who are deprived of the society, who are having no good positions in the society. So he says, never festooned with fruit or flower the dejected faces, furrowed with care. Is it true you never heard the lament of their lament as they cried for liberation? He questions like this because this Valmiki wrote much about Ramarajya in Ramayana, but he did not take even single explanation about Shambhuka. Shambhuka, who was killed by Rama. So he says that one Shambhuka of your own land, own bed, caught fire, rose in anger. So to say, Shambhuka was burnt in anger, and it was actually done by Rama, but Valmiki did not write much about Shambhuka, but he wrote much about Ramayana. This pains this Dayapavar much, so he writes like that. So he says that, oh great poet, singing the praises of Ram Rajya, even there the icy cliffs of humanity towered up. Oh great poet, how then should we call you as a great poet? So he says that as Valmiki did not write much about these the downtrodden people like Shambhuka, but he wrote much about Ramraja, Rama. So he does not want to call this Valmiki as a great poet. So he says that had you written just one single verse exposing the injustice, this outrage, then would your name have been carved on our hearts? That means if Valmiki had written just one verse, one poem, or one explanation or description, one incident expression or description about this Shambhuka, definitely almost all downtrodden people or outcast people may be worshipped this Valmiki by putting Valmiki in their hearts. Like this, uh, this Dayapavar says that he does not consider this Valmiki as great poet. So this is explanation because Dayapavar know very well about the Ramayana and Valmiki. So he asks how it is to call or consider this Valmiki as great poet. So he refers to the Adikavi of Sanskrit, that is Valmiki, because Valmiki composed the Ramayana. It is a kind of legend how the robber, Ratnakar, that means previous name of Valmiki was Ratnakar. He transferred by Narada into Rishi, attained his salvation. So Valmiki's epic story of Rama, Ayodhya celebrates his achievements and virtuous rule Ram Raja. So that means Ramayana is about Rama, Ayodhya, Ram Raja. Then Valmiki uttered first sloka in Sanskrit, that was a spontaneous outburst of composition. And he was moved to see a pair of mating errands. This is explanation about the poem already told while I was reading the poem. So he was moved to see a pair of mating cirrus crane, the lament of the partner when one of the birds was wounded by the arrow of a hunter, Power so questions to the poet is why he had shown the same sympathy for the downtrodden. Sorry, why he did not, why he had not, Valmiki had not same sympathy for the downtrodden among whom he was himself. Basically, Valmiki was also a downtrodden, but he did not give much importance for downtrodden people. But, for example, Shambhuk. So in the Ramayana, Valmiki presented the character of Shudra ascetic. Shambhuka was a Shudra ascetic who is killed by Rama for daring to offer penance in order to transgress his transgress is what we call penance in order to transgress his karma. So Rama killed Shambhuka, an ascetic, only to relieve his karma. So several scholars have been as an attempt to Rama to reinstate the Varnasrama and perpetuate injustice against the lower castes. Power finds ironies underlying the concepts of Ram Rajya, as it can be viewed as an unjust and non-egalitarian society. He questions the values and truth represented by a great poet. So, like this, what we say, the poem is free in verse, having the lines of unequal lengths. The initial address to Valmiki is followed by two theoretical repetitions of the phrase in the third or last stanza. This is also title of the poem. So in this way, the poet Daya Power talks and he condemns the way of writing of Valmiki, and he feels that Valmiki has given injustice to Shambhuka.